drifting, floating together through the mysteries, 100 deep-sea creatures' mysteries, looping softly, endlessly, through the night. Tonight we'll drift through the vampire squid, cloaked in inky darkness, vanishing into the abyss. The anglerfish, wielding a glowing, hypnotic lure to tempt the unwary, and the immortal jellyfish, endlessly looping through life and death, defying nature itself. There's nothing you need to do now. Just let your body... There's nothing you need to do now. Just let your body sink, heavier, heavier. Feel the mattress holding you, every muscle softening, your heartbeat slowing, thump, thump, matching the rhythm of space itself. Shoulders melting down, jaw releasing, each breath pulling you deeper, deeper into the calm, the quiet, the dark. If this helps you rest, tap subscribe and hit like, so others can find this calm too. But only if your eyes are still open. Otherwise, just drift. Now, let's drift into space. Imagine, somewhere beyond the edge of everything you know, there's a nebula turning so slowly that even if you watched for your entire lifetime, you wouldn't see it move. It's clouds of gas and dust, stretching across light years, spiral in patterns that take millions of years to complete. Thump, thump. One full rotation, lasting longer than mountains rise and fall on Earth. The colours there, reds and purples and deep indigo blues, shifting imperceptibly, like watching paint dry across the canvas of infinity. Heavier, heavier. Your eyelids growing heavy as those are ancient clouds. Drifting, always drifting. Performed in absolute silence, in absolute darkness, where no audience exists. The bioluminescent organs on its body, photophores, tiny galaxies of light, can produce blinding clouds of glowing mucus, expelled from the tips of its arms, not ink like other cephalopods, but light itself, weaponized. A burst of stars, and the vampire squid drifts away, barely moving, conserving every precious calorie in a world where food falls like snow, so slowly. It has the largest eyes, relative to body size, of any animal on Earth. Great glass orbs, gathering every photon, every whisper of light that somehow finds its way down here, 3,000 feet below the surface, where pressure builds. There are stars that sleep, brown dwarfs they're called, failed stars, too small to ignite fusion in their cores. They glow faintly with leftover heat from their formation, cooling over billions of years. Their gravity still pulls, still shapes, still holds, but silently, without the violence of fusion, without the burning, just a gentle mass, curving space around it, the way your body curves into the bed, sinking, sinking. These sleeping stars, scattered throughout the galaxy, emitting mostly infrared light, invisible to the naked eye, but there, always there, in the darkness. Swimming toward what looks like food, or salvation, swimming instead into oblivion. But here's where the story becomes strange. Stranger than fiction. The male anglerfish, so much smaller, fraction of her size, lives only to find a female, following pheromone trails through the dark, chemical whispers in the void. When he finally finds her, his purpose crystallizes into something unsettling. He bites into her skin and never lets go. His body slowly fuses with hers, their tissues merging, their circulatory systems becoming one. He loses his eyes, his organs, everything, becoming nothing more than a sperm-producing appendage, parasitic, yet somehow symbiotic. She gains the immortality of a sort, dissolved into her, two become one in the deepest dark, where boundaries blur, where identity melts away. Some females have been found with multiple males attached, a gallery of genetic options, all fused, all waiting, all breathing through her blood, all dreaming her dreams. If anglerfish dream, deeper, let's go deeper, where we find the barrel-eye fish, Macropina microstoma, one of the ocean's most peculiar innovations. Its head, completely transparent, a dome of clear tissue, like a fighter pilot's canopy. And inside this dome, two glowing green orbs. Rotating upward, these are its eyes, tubular, pointing straight up toward the faint shimmer of surface light, far, far above. For years, scientists only found dead specimens, mangled by nets, crushed by the journey to surface pressure. They thought the eyes were fixed, pointing only upward, but then cameras descended, ROVs drifting in the midnight zone, and captured something extraordinary. The barrel eye, swimming slowly, its transparent head glowing faintly in the sub's lights, and its eyes rotating forward. It drifts beneath siphonophores, those long colonial jellies, stealing food caught in their stinging tentacles. Its flat fins spread like wings, hardly moving, conserving energy in a realm where every movement costs, every calorie precious, everything moving slowly, slowly, like you're breathing now, slow and deep and easy. The barrel-eye's mouth, so tiny, so precisely adapted for picking off small prey, tiny crustaceans, stolen meals, a thief in the dark, translucent, nearly invisible, a ghost, drifting, watching the dim cosmos above through its crystals. The gulper eel, Eurypharynx pelecanoids. In these depths, the water itself changes, becoming thicker, denser, not quite liquid, not quite solid, something in between. The pressure here, at 3,000 feet, approaches 90 times surface pressure, crushing, but only if you're not adapted. The deep-sea creatures, they don't feel crushed, they feel nothing. This is their normal, their cells, their proteins, uniquely structured to function under immense weight. Your body knows this feeling in a different way. The weight of blankets, the pressure of mattress beneath you, holding you, heavy, heavier, sinking, deeper. The universe is expanding. Every second, the space between distant galaxies grows larger, not because galaxies are moving through space, but because space itself is stretching, like dots on a balloon being inflated. Each dot moves away from every other dot. The vacuum itself, the nothing between things, is growing. This expansion began 13.8 billion years ago, and it continues, accelerating, driven by something we call dark energy, an invisible pressure pushing outward, everywhere, all at once. The vacuum expanding, the way your awareness expands now, becoming bigger, looser, less defined. There's a sound in space, not a sound you could hear, but a hum in the electromagnetic spectrum, the cosmic microwave background radiation. The afterglow of the Big Bang fills all of space with microwaves. If your eyes could see these wavelengths, the entire sky would glow, softly, uniformly, in every direction. This radiation has been travelling since the universe was only 380,000 years old. When it was still hot and dense, now it's cooled to just 2.7 degrees above absolute zero. Thump, thump, that ancient warmth, that primordial hum surrounding everything, including you, as you sink deeper into the background, into the static, into sleep. Its snout, elongated into a blade, filled with electromagnetic sensors, ampullae of Lorenzini, detecting the faint electrical fields generated by living things. Every heartbeat, every muscle contraction sends ripples through the water, invisible to eyes, obvious to ampullae. The goblin shark sweeps its snout, side to side, reading the electromagnetic poetry of the deep, seeking the signature of prey. When it detects something, its jaw, suddenly, explosively, shoots forward, extending outward from its head, slingshot mandibles snatching prey before it can react, then retracting, pulling back into place, the whole process taking milliseconds. When astronomers point their telescopes at a tiny patch of empty sky and leave the shutter open for days, they capture what they call a deep field image. Thousands of galaxies appear, each one containing billions of stars, all in a space no bigger than a grain of sand held at arm's length. This is the deep field lullaby, the revelation that everywhere we look, in every direction, in every seemingly empty patch of darkness, there is light, ancient light, from galaxies formed when the universe was young. Thump, thump. The darkness is full, crowded with distant fires, but from here it looks like perfect, peaceful nothing. On the ice giant planets, Neptune and Uranus, there are shadows, clouds in the upper atmosphere, moved by winds faster than any hurricane on Earth, cast shadows on the cloud layers below. These shadows drift across the face of the planet, enormous, covering areas larger than Earth, but moving slowly, majestically. The sunlight there is 40 times fainter than on Earth, everything bathed in a dim, twilight glow, blue-green, cold. The shadows deepen that twilight, creating pools of darkness, drifting across an ocean of atmosphere, the way darkness drifts across your closed eyelids now, shapes moving, melting, dissolving. The lanternfish, among the most numerous vertebrates on Earth, more individuals than perhaps any other backboned creature, yet so few people know their name. Nyctopheidae, little lights dotting the darkness with their photophores, patterns unique to each species, recognition signals, courtship displays, a constellation drifting through inner space. Some lanternfish species have light organs on their bodies arranged to counter-illuminate. Viewed from below, their belly lights match the faint downwelling light from above, erasing their silhouette, becoming invisible to predators looking up, camouflage by addition, by matching, by becoming one with the last whispers of distant wide. For let's sink deeper, below the midnight zone, into the abyssal plain, 2 to 3 miles down, where the seafloor finally appears, a desert of soft sediment stretching farther than continents. Nearly 3/4 of Earth's seafloor lies in the abyssal zone, cold, dark, still, the temperature hovering just above freezing, 2 degrees Celsius, unchanging, while continents above experience seasons, storms, cycles of life. Down here, eternal autumn, eternal stillness. The tripod fish, Bathypteroi grallata, stands on the bottom, literally stands, using 3 elongated fin rays, 2 pelvic, 1 caudal, like a surveyor's tripod. Interstellar clouds, vast regions of gas and dust between the stars, drift slowly through the galaxy. They move through the spiral arms, taking millions of years to complete a single orbit around the galactic center. These clouds are where stars are born, but most of the time they simply drift, dark, cold, lit only by starlight scattered through their edges, creating glowing nebulae in some places, but mostly just darkness, drifting. The migration of these clouds, reshaping the galaxy, slowly, so slowly, the way continents drift across Earth, imperceptible but inevitable. You're migrating now towards sleep, slow, inevitable. The sea pig, Scotoplanes globosa, waddles across the abyssal sediment, a sea cucumber, inflated, almost balloon-like, walking on tube feet, elongated into leg-like appendages. They gather in herds, sometimes hundreds together, moving in the same direction, responding to some signal, some chemical gradient, leading them toward food falls, their bodies, translucent pink, soft, filled with water for ballast and structure. No bones, no shell, just skin and determination. They feed on detritus, organic particles in the mud, extracting nutrition from what seems like nothing. They're feeding tentacles, probing, sifting, finding sustenance in the waste of the first light in the universe after the Big Bang came from primordial hydrogen and helium gas, glowing as it cooled. This faint glow, stretched by the expansion of space, is what we now detect as the cosmic microwave background. But before that, for 380,000 years, the universe was opaque, filled with a hot plasma that light couldn't travel through. That primordial gas, that first faint glow, it's still there, all around us, redshifted into microwaves, invisible, but present. The oldest light, the first light, cradling the universe, cradling you as you drift deeper. There are comets that got lost, ejected from their original orbits by gravitational interactions. They wander through the galaxy, some traveling in interstellar space between stars for millions of years before perhaps, by chance, entering another star system. These lost comets, frozen, dormant, carry with them ices from their birth system, water, carbon dioxide, ammonia, memories frozen in their nuclei. They drift in the darkness, waiting for the warmth of a star to wake them. But for now, just drifting, sleeping, the way you're sleeping now, heavier, heavier. Every planet, every moon, every object in space has a magnetic field, or the ghost of one. Earth's magnetic field, generated by the churning of molten iron in its core, creates a protective bubble around the planet, shielding us from solar wind. Some planets, like Jupiter, have magnetic fields thousands of times stronger. Others, like Mars, lost their magnetic fields billions of years ago, leaving only traces in the magnetized rocks of their crust. These invisible fields stretching through space, channels for particles, guides for solar wind, shaping space around them, quietly, invisibly, thump, thump, like the field of your own awareness, expanding, then contracting, then releasing. Near a black hole, time bends. An observer far away, watching something fall toward the event horizon, would see it slow down, taking forever to cross that boundary. From the falling object's perspective, everything proceeds normally, but from outside, time stretches, dilates, approaches infinity. This isn't metaphor, it's geometry. The shape of space-time curved so extremely that the flow of time itself changes. Where gravity is weak, like here on Earth, time flows normally, but near the ultimate nothing, the collapsed nothing of a black hole, time becomes like honey, flowing, slower, slower, the way time feels now as you sink towards sleep. Seconds stretching, becoming longer to thicker, heavier. Crabs arrive, swarms of them, deep-sea red crabs, chasson, their shells bright crimson, though in the darkness, all colours fade to grey. They clamber over the skeleton, picking, cleaning, their numbers growing, days becoming weeks, the soft tissue slowly consumed. Then the bone-eating worms arrive, Osidax, meaning bone-eater. These worms have no mouth, no gut. They anchor to the bone and penetrate it with root-like structures, absorbing lipids, fat stored in whalebone. But they can't digest these fats themselves, so they house bacteria inside their roots, symbiotic bacteria that break down the lipids, converting them to nutrients the worm can absorb. Male Osedax, microscopic, live inside the female's tube, sometimes dozens of males per female. They never leave, never mature beyond sperm production, their entire existence dedicated to one function, like the male anglerfish, dissolved into something else's story. The Osedax worms can persist for decades, slowly dissolving the skeleton until nothing remains but impressions in the sediment. The whale returned fully to the sea, every atom redistributed, every molecule recycled. This is the logic of the deep. Nothing wasted, everything used, the entire ocean connected in a slow-motion circle. What falls feeds what waits below. What waits below eventually returns in different forms to feed what swims above. A closed loop, nearly, almost, with just a little input from above. Sunlight driving photosynthesis, starting the chain. But even that rule has exceptions. In the cold, outer regions of space, water ice takes on crystalline structures different from the ice you know. The ice on comets, on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, on Kuiper Belt objects, forms in hexagonal crystals, layers of molecules arranged in precise patterns. In the steep cold, near absolute zero, this ice can survive for billions of years, unchanged, preserved. Each crystal, a tiny structure of perfect order in the chaos of space. Thump, thump, like your thoughts crystallizing, becoming simpler, more ordered, more still. The solar system has a boundary, not a sharp edge, but a region where the solar wind finally stops pushing outward. The heliopause, where the sun's influence ends and interstellar space begins. The Voyager spacecraft crossed this boundary, reporting back a change in the particles detected. Suddenly, instead of particles from the sun, they detected particles from the galaxy at large, from other stars, from the interstellar medium. The boundary is not a wall, but a transition, a gradual fading from one realm to another, the way waking fades, gradually, into sleep. Oxygen, both present at the vents. The worm provides habitat and access to chemicals. The bacteria provide all nutrition, a partnership so complete that neither can exist without the other. These worms can grow 6 feet long, living in water that alternates between near boiling and near freezing, depending on current. They've evolved proteins that remain stable across this temperature range, adaptations that fascinate scientists, because these proteins might hold keys to understanding life's flexibility, its resilience. The Pompeii worm, Alvinella pompeiana, lives even closer to the heat. Its tail, anchored in tubes, can withstand temperatures up to 80 degrees Celsius, the hottest temperature any animal is known to tolerate. Its head waves in cooler water, 20 degrees Celsius, creating a temperature gradient across its body of 60 degrees, a living experiment in thermal tolerance. Its back covered in symbiotic bacteria, a fuzzy coat protecting it, feeding it. The bacteria may provide insulation or chemical nutrient or both. Another partnership forged in fire, in darkness, in isolation. Deep inside some exoplanets, far from any sun, the core heats slowly from radioactive decay, from leftover heater formation, from the pressure of the planet's own weight. This internal heat rises slowly, taking millions of years to reach the surface. On some worlds, this creates volcanism, plate tectonics. On others, it merely warms the planet slightly, keeping it from cooling to the temperature of space. This slow heating, this deep warmth, rising from within, the way warmth rises in your body now, as your metabolism slows, as you settle, as everything becomes softer, warmer, heavier. Gravitational waves, ripples in space-time itself, pass through the Earth constantly, caused by colliding black holes, merging neutron stars, cataclysms billions of light years away. These waves stretch and compress space as they pass, by amounts smaller than an atom. We built detectors sensitive enough to feel this, to hear the universe ringing like a bell when massive objects collide. But most gravitational waves are undetectable, too subtle, too faint, just the fabric of space, gently rippling, constantly, imperceptibly, the way water ripples, even when it seems still. You're rippling now, gently, your awareness expanding and contracting, in waves, softer, softer, thump, thump. Around the vents, predators gather, vent fish, eel pouts, prowling for smaller creatures, octopuses, pale and delicate, tending their eggs near warm water, brooding for months, years even, not eating, just protecting until they die and their offspring emerge into the same strange world, starting the cycle again. Molecular clouds, the vast dark nebulae where stars form, are composed mostly of molecular hydrogen, H2, with traces of carbon monoxide, water, ammonia, and other simple molecules. These clouds are cold, just 10 or 20 degrees above absolute zero, and dense by space standards, though still far more tenuous than any vacuum we can create on Earth. Inside these clouds, in the darkest, coldest cores, gravity slowly pulls matter together over millions of years, until eventually a star ignites. But most of the time, these clouds just are dark, cold, silent, their composition unchanging, waiting, heavier, heavier, like you're waiting now in the darkness, quiet, cold, waiting for nothing, expecting nothing. Let's drift away from the vents, back into the cold dark, where the viperfish hunts, Choliodus, with teeth so large they cannot close their mouth, fangs extending past the jaw, past where any reasonable design would place them, curved, needle-sharp, some hinged, folding back when the mouth opens wide, then snapping forward, impaling prey. The viperfish's skull hinged behind the eyes, allowing the jaws to open at angles up to 90 degrees, creating a cave lined with daggers. It strikes with speed, sudden acceleration, then back to stillness, waiting. Its photophores lining its belly, its sides can glow, steadily or in patterns, perhaps attracting prey, perhaps counter-illuminating, perhaps sending signals to other viperfish, courtship, or territory, or something we can't imagine. There are planets without stars, rogue planets, ejected from their birth systems by gravitational interactions, drifting through the galaxy, alone, in the dark. These worlds, some perhaps Earth-sized, some larger, receive no warmth from a sun, only the faint background radiation of space and whatever internal heat remains from their formation. They wander through the interstellar medium, taking millions of years to cross from one star system to another, perhaps never to be captured, never to orbit again, just drifting endlessly through the cold, the dark, the silence, thump, thump, drifting like you're drifting now, untethered, free, floating in darkness. Comprehend, until too late, some dragonfish produce red bioluminescence, unique among deep-sea creatures. Most bioluminescence glows blue or green, colours that travel farthest in water, but the dragonfish sees red, has special pigments in its eyes, allowing it to detect red light, while its prey cannot. It illuminates them with a color they're blind to, seeing them while remaining unseen. A private spotlight in the universal dark. The cosmic web, the large-scale structure of the universe, forms filaments, long strings of galaxies, connected by invisible threads of dark matter and gas, stretching between galaxy clusters. These filaments, hundreds of millions of light-years long, shimmer faintly with the light of countless galaxies, creating a web-like pattern that looks, from a great enough distance, like neurons in a brain or frost on a window. The galaxies within these filaments move slowly along them, following the gravitational channels, the rivers of dark matter flowing, drifting forever. The shimmer of that cosmic web, too vast to comprehend, too beautiful to look away from, drawing you in, deeper, heavier. These waters, the bathypelagic zone, the midnight zone, stretch from 3,300 feet down to 13,000 feet, a mile, 2 miles of vertical space, where the only light comes from life itself, where food is so scarce that everything has adapted to feast or famine, meals separated by weeks, months, bodies designed to stretch, to store, to wait. Your body knows waiting, knows stillness, lying here, muscles released, breath slowing, the waiting before sleep, the drifting toward dreams, deeper, always deeper. Binary star systems, 2 stars orbiting each other, dance through space, bound by mutual gravity. They might orbit close, completing a revolution in hours or days, or far apart, taking centuries. The dance is silent, perfect, each star falling toward the other, but always missing, creating instead an eternal orbit. Some binaries are so close they touch, sharing material between them, creating a peanut-shaped system. Others are so far apart they barely interact. Just 2 stars, happening to move through space together, circling, always circling, thump, thump, like your thoughts circling now, slower, wider, losing coherence, losing connection, but still moving, still dancing, until they stop. Xenophophores, giant single-celled organisms the size of pancakes, even dinner plates, sprawl across the seafloor, their fragile tests, built from sediment grains, glued together into branching mazes. They feed by absorbing organic particles and hosting microbial gardens inside their own cytoplasm. They're living ecosystems within a single cell, forming miniature reefs for small invertebrates, shrimp, brittle stars, even young fish hide within their folds, protected by a creature that is mostly silence. The solar wind, that stream of charged particles from the sun, creates storms in space, interplanetary storms. When these particles interact with planetary magnetic fields, they create auroras, radiation belts, magnetic substorms. But between the planets, the storms are invisible, just fluctuations in particle density, in magnetic field strength, measured only by spacecraft. The faint trail of these disturbances, rippling outward from the sun, washing over the planets, bending around their magnetic fields, creating turbulence in the solar system. Turbulence you'd never know existed unless you looked with the right instruments. Everything invisible, everything silent, everything hidden, like the processes of your body now. Breathing, heartbeat, all continuing while you drift away from awareness, from noticing. Saturn's rings, those magnificent structures, are not solid, but composed of billions of ice particles, ranging from grain-sized to house-sized. Each particle follows its own orbit, creating the appearance of rings, the shepherd moons. Small moons orbiting near the rings use their gravity to keep the rings in place, preventing them from spreading. The arc of this distant ring system, visible through a telescope from Earth, glows softly with reflected sunlight. The rings are thin, incredibly thin, sometimes only 30 feet from top to bottom, despite being hundreds of thousands of miles wide. Like paper, like a whisper, like the thin boundary movement. Instead of light, the ping-pong tree sponge, clusters of perfect white spheres, perched on thin stalks, studding the deep Pacific sea floor. Each sphere hides a labyrinth of channels, lined with tiny hooks. When zooplankton drift inside, they become ensnared, trapped in a maze that narrows with no exit. The sponge thrives in cold, nutrient-poor depths, making its forest of orbs look like a forgotten orchard, growing in perpetual night. Venus flytrap anemones, tall, flared, cup-like predators, perched on mud slops of submarine canyons. Their tentacles curve inward, forming a trap. When fish or shrimp touch the edges, the anemone folds, not with speed, but with certainty. Its nematocysts fire, delivering toxins paralyzing prey, which is then drawn slowly into the column, consumed in pieces over hours. Mushroom-soft corals, dome-shaped colonies, rising from rocky outcrops, their tissues, nearly all water, supported by flexible skeletons of calcium carbonate spicules. They extend polyps at night, combing currents for plankton. They glow faintly under bioluminescent flashes, reacting to touch or to drifting particles. Their softness, bamboo corals, jointed skeletons, alternating between hard calcite and soft protein nodes, giving them flexibility in deep currents. Some colonies are millennia old, their growth rings recording changes in deep ocean temperatures and carbon levels. Like living climate scrolls, they host brittle stars, crabs, worm colonies, creating entire vertical cities in the twilight zone. Black coral forests, dark, woody skeletons, rising like drowned trees from slops and seamounts. Their polyps are white, delicate, feeding on drifting plankton. They grow incredibly slowly, fractions of an inch per year, but can live for 4 millennia. They form essential habitats. Deep-sea bamboo whips, tall, slender gorgonians, bending like reeds, and slow abyssal currents. Their surfaces buzz with life, polyps extending to catch detritus, and tiny zooplankton. Some whip corals reach 10 feet, swaying over plains like lonely silhouettes, each branch home to symbiotic worms, shrimps, and miniature crabs, tucked into crevices of living bone-white stems, sea-pen fields, whole colonies anchored upright, their central stalks buried in sand. Their feather-like leaves pulse with water, lined with polyps specialized for feeding and breathing. When disturbed, they glow blue-green, bioluminescent waves rippling across entire crinoid meadows, feather stars perched on stalks, extending delicate arms to capture marine snow drifting from above. Some lift off, swimming with rhythmic motions of feathered limbs, moving like living pinwheels. They gather in groups, forming gardens that sway with currents in perfect, synchronized slowness. Ophiuroid graveyards, vast gatherings of brittle stars, thousands, tens of thousands, forming matted layers over canyon floors. They converge on food falls, consuming them in frenzies, then lie still, arms intertwined like tangled roots. When currents shift, their bodies leave patterns, star-shaped imprints, geometric echoes of feeding events. At the intersections of cosmic web filaments, where multiple strands of galaxies meet, there is hidden mass, concentrations of dark matter and gas, too diffuse to form galaxies, but massive nonetheless. These nodes in the cosmic web shape the flow of matter on the larger scales, pulling on galaxy clusters, affecting their motion. But the mass itself is invisible, inferred only from its gravitational effects, hidden but present, influencing everything, like the hidden processes of your mind, influencing your dreams, your sleep, your breathing, all happening without your awareness, without your control, just happening. Heavier, heavier. Maris orthocana, a crimson siphonophore, its swimming bells pulsing in transparent chains, Tentacles trail beneath, a curtain of stings, catching prey, funneling it upward to digestive zoids. Its light patterns flicker red and gold, not bioluminescence, but reflection from internal pigments, a drifting ember in black water. The light from the most distant galaxies, visible in deep field images, is ancient. So ancient that we see these galaxies as they were when the universe was less than 1 billion years old. These galaxies are small, irregular, intensely forming stars. They're building themselves, creating their first generations of stars. These ancient starlight shifted so far to the red by the expansion of space that it appears as infrared light now, carries information from an era we can barely understand. The pale drift of this ancient light, travelling for 13 billion years just to reach us, to show us the past, is like memory, like ancient memory, drifting through time, fading, but still present, still there. Thump, thump, if you look, if you remember. But you're forgetting now, drifting past memory, past light, past time, brown dwarfs, those failed stars. Some wander through space alone, ejected from binary systems, or born in isolation. The haze around these wandering brown dwarfs, clouds in their atmospheres, creates complex weather patterns, storms of molten iron rain, temperature variations from pole to equator, layers of different chemical compounds creating banded structures, like Jupiter, but dimmer, cooler. These objects, radiating mostly in infrared, are invisible to the naked eye, but through infrared telescopes they appear hazy, indistinct, surrounded by their own heat, slowly radiating into the cold, like warmth radiating from your body now into the cool air. The hatchetfish, Sternopticidae, has evolved the flat silvery body, thin as paper when viewed head-on, nearly invisible. Its eyes point upward, tubular, always watching for prey silhouetted against the distant surface glow, and along its belly, photophores arranged precisely, creating counter-illumination, matching the light from above, erasing its shadow, becoming nothing to anything looking up, in a realm where being seen means death, invisibility is survival. The hatchetfish masters this better than most, its mirror-like sides reflecting what little light exists, its ventral lights calibrated to brightness and angle, everything engineered over millions of years to disappear. Neutrinos, nearly massless particles, were created in enormous numbers in the first moments of the Big Bang. These relic neutrinos, cooled by the expansion of space, drift through the universe. There are billions of them in every cubic meter of space, passing through you, through the earth, through everything, without interaction. They carry no charge, barely interact with matter. The slow drift of these relic neutrinos, remnants from the birth of everything, is invisible, undetectable. They flow through you right now as you drift towards sleep, ghostly, ancient particles from the beginning of time, passing through, leaving no trace. Thump, thump, like thoughts, like moments, passing through, leaving nothing. Around young stars, disks of gas and dust orbit, protoplanetary disks where planets will eventually form. But these disks have gaps, cleared by forming planets. The quiet swirl of material in these gaps, where a planet is sweeping up debris, creating a clearing in the disk, happens slowly. Over millions of years, the gas and dust, forced outward or inward by the planet's gravity, leaves a dark band, visible in high-resolution images. These gaps, these absences, these empty places, speak of something forming, something growing, something becoming. But all you see is the gap, the emptiness, quiet space, like the quiet space in your mind now. Empty, becoming more empty, heavier, heavier. When galaxies collide, when they merge, tidal streams form, long arcs of stars, pulled out from the galaxies by gravitational interactions. These streams, stretching across hundreds of thousands of light years, glow softly, starlight from stolen stars. The soft glow along these tidal streams marks the violence of galactic collision, but the glow itself is gentle, beautiful even, like fireworks reflected in water, the beauty of destruction, transformed by distance, by time, into something peaceful. The stars in these streams will eventually settle into the merged galaxy, finding new orbits, new homes. But for now, they drift along their tidal stream, homeless, unanchored, like you now, drifting, unanchored. Cosmic voids, the largest structures in the universe, are vast regions with very few galaxies. These voids, hundreds of millions of light years across, are not completely empty, but nearly so. The breathless calm inside these voids, where the galaxy density is less than 1/10 of the cosmic average, is profound. An observer inside a cosmic void would see galaxies only as faint smudges on the horizon, in every direction, but far away, very far away. The loneliness of such a place, the empty, silent vastness, is almost peaceful, almost like floating in sensory deprivation. No input, no stimulation, just being in the void. You're entering your own void now, a place of no stimulation, no thought, no sensation, just darkness. Only a few specimens have ever been examined, most from the stomachs of sperm whales or accidentally caught in deep-sea fishing gear. Their beaks, found in whale stomachs, allow scientists to estimate that some colossal squid might reach 1,400 pounds, maybe more, giants in the dark, Rarely seen, rarely caught, mostly just dreaming, drifting in waters so cold metabolism slows to near hibernation. This phenomenon, deep sea gigantism, appears again and again. The giant isopod, Bathynomus giganteus, a pillbug's nightmare cousin, growing up to 16 inches long, while its shallow water relative measure fractions of an inch. The giant isopod scuttles across the abyssal floor, or sometimes swims using its legs inside from supermassive black holes, from the centers of active galaxies. Jets of material shoot outward near the speed of light. These jets, powered by the rotational energy of the black hole or by magnetic fields, extend for thousands, sometimes millions of light years. The gentle twist of these distant jets as they spiral through space, following magnetic field lines, creates helical patterns visible in radio images. The jets themselves, mostly empty space with a thin stream of high-energy particles, appear almost like smoke, like a distant chimney. The twist, the spiral, the gentle curve draws your eye, draws your attention, spiraling down, following the curve, around and around, deeper, deeper, heavier. Animal and bacteria, so common in the deep that it seems symbiosis is the rule, not the exception. Some crabs have adapted to the brine pools, Munidopsis, swimming in and out, tolerating the salt, feeding on mussels and worms. They walk along the boundary between water and stranger water, between one impossible environment and another. At some brine pools, especially in the Gulf of Mexico, methane bubbles up from beneath, and where methane reaches oxygen, certain bacteria oxidize it, creating mats, microbial films covering the seafloor, yellow, orange, white, vast carpets of bacterial life, converting methane, the same gas heating our homes, into biological energy. Deep sea's alternative to photosynthesis, to sunlight, to everything we think. We know about how life works. The tube anemones, Seriantheria, extend from burrows in the sediment. Their tentacles can number in the hundreds, spread in a spiral, creating a net to trap plankton or marine snow. They can retract instantly when threatened, pulling down into their tube, constructed of mucus and sediment and specialized threads called tychocysts, like a collapsible building that can pull itself underground. The solar wind, blowing outward from the sun, encounters planetary magnetospheres, creating complex interactions. The whisper of solar wind across Earth's magnetosphere, bending the magnetic field lines, compressing them on the day side, stretching them on the night side, creates currents and auroras and radiation belts. This whisper, this gentle but constant pressure, shapes the environment around every planet with a magnetic field, protecting some, eroding the atmospheres of others. The whisper, barely there, but persistent, like white noise, like ocean waves, like the sound of your own breathing, constant, fading, becoming background, becoming nothing. Just whisper, just sound, just breath. During the day, they coil tight, pulling all those arms inward, becoming a ball, a fist, waiting for darkness, though in the deep, day and night might mean nothing, but rhythms remain, biological clocks, ticking, even without sun, even without cues. The body knows time. Your body knows time, knows that now is time for rest. The brittle stars, Ophiuroidea, carpet the abyssal plain. In some regions, hundreds per square metre. Their 5 arms, thin, serpentine, used for walking, for feeding, for sensing. They eat detritus, filter feeders, scavengers, forming, essentially, forests of themselves, arm forests, waving in gentle currents. On Saturn's moon Titan, beneath an orange haze atmosphere, there are lakes, but not of water, of liquid methane and ethane. These frozen methane lakes, under alien twilight, reflect the dim sunlight filtered through Titan's thick atmosphere, creating a landscape both familiar and utterly strange. Lakes, shores, islands, but made of materials that would be gas on Earth, existing because Titan is so cold, so far from the sun, that methane is liquid. The twilight there, perpetual. The sun appearing only as a bright spot through the haze, creates a mood, melancholy, quiet, like dusk that never ends, like the twilight of consciousness, the dimming, the fading of awareness into sleep. Thump, thump, ancient, silent, still. These coral forests provide habitat, structure, in a world that's mostly mud and darkness. Fish shelter among the branches, crustaceans hide, octopuses hunt, an ecosystem built on stone-slow growth, decades to grow inches. The coral polyps, filter feeding constantly, patient. Everything here is patient. Some black corals, recovered from the deep, have been carbon dated to 200 years old, growing when humans was just building pyramids, still growing, now in darkness, in cold, witnesses to time we cannot comprehend. They were alive when so much history happened, and they simply grew. How does it feel to be ancient, without memory, to persist, without awareness of persistence? Perhaps peaceful. Perhaps this is what rocks feel, if rocks could feel. Pure being, without reflection, just continuing. The chimeras, chimeridae, ghost sharks, ratfish, swim through these depths, not true sharks, but related, cartilaginous fish, with smooth skin, big eyes, and a venomous spine on their dorsal fin, defensive. Because down here, even predators need protection. Their snouts, elongated in some species, stubby in others, trailing whisker-like barbels, extensions of their nose, chemosensory, tasting the water, reading chemical signals, finding prey buried in sediment, crustacean, heavier. When two neutron stars collide, when they merge, they create something called a kilonova, an explosion, releasing gold, platinum, heavy elements, forged in that instant of collision. The distant lantern of this kilonova afterglow, fading over weeks and months, glows in infrared, in optical light, in radio waves, painting a picture of cosmic alchemy from Earth, billions of light years away. We watch this lantern, this distant signal, growing dimmer, dimmer, like a candle in a window seen from miles away, slowly going out, the glow, orange and red, fading to darkness, like your thoughts, like the light behind your eyes, fading, going out, heavier, heavier, thump, thump. The lantern dims, and you dim with it, drifting into darkness. The sun's heliosphere, that bubble of solar wind, pressing against the interstellar medium, has a boundary, thin, delicate. The thin membrane of this heliosphere boundary, separating what is solar from what is interstellar, flexes and moves, breathing with the solar cycle. When the sun is active, the boundary expands. When quiet, it contracts. This membrane, invisible, intangible, marks a threshold, like skin, separating inside from outside, self from other. The membrane, so thin, barely there, but crucial, essential, like the membrane between waking and sleeping, so thin now, so permeable, thoughts leaking through, awareness seeping out, the boundary dissolving, thinning, until there's no separation, no inside or outside, just one, continuous, darkness, heavier, heavier. There are moons orbiting too close to their planets, inside what's called the Roche limit, where tidal forces exceed the moon's own gravity. The slow tide that tears a moon apart pulls harder on the near side than the far side, stretching, deforming. Eventually it was to you. Over millions of years, the moon breaks, becomes a ring, particles orbiting individually, the tide pulling, pulling, relentless, patient, inevitable, like sleep pulling at you now, gentle but insistent. You can resist for a while, but the tide always wins, always pulls you apart, dissolves you into separate pieces, separate thoughts, separate moments, until you're no longer one thing, but many, or nothing, just particles, orbiting in the dark. Thump, thump. The tide pulls, and you surrender, heavier. The frilled shark, Chlamydocelicus anguineus, looks prehistoric, because it is ancient lineage, largely unchanged for millions of years. Its mouth, terminal at the front of its snout, not underslung like most sharks. Its teeth, needle-like, recurved, 3 points each, designed to snag slippery prey, squid mostly. It attacks, by bending like a snake, lunging, its body, eel-like, flexible, allowing it to twist in tight spaces between rocks and crevasses. When filmed, it moves, slowly, jerkily, almost robotic, but attack speed, when it strikes, is explosive, contradictory, like everything in the deep. Stillness, interrupted by brief violence, then stillness again, always appearing, then vanishing, leaving no trace, heavier, heavier. The ghosts flicker and fade, and you fade with them. Jupiter, with its powerful magnetic field, creates radio storms, bursts of radio waves, triggered by the moon, Io, by the interaction of Jupiter's magnetosphere with the solar wind. These storms, inaudible to human ears, but detectable with radio telescopes, sound like static, like interference. The soft static of these Jovian radio storms, crackling across millions of miles, is the sound of a planet breathing in radio frequencies. The static, chaotic, unpredictable, but somehow soothing, like white noise, like rain on a roof, like the static between stations, between thoughts, between moments of consciousness. The static grows, fills everything, until all you hear, all you feel, is static, soft, enveloping, pulling you under, thump, thump, heavier. On Titan, Saturn's largest moon, beneath the surface, beneath the dunes of hydrocarbon sand, there may be caves, caverns formed in water ice by some ancient process, now hidden, sealed. The crystalline caves beneath Titan's dunes, if they exist, would be lined with ice, not water ice alone, but mixed with ammonia, with methane, creating structures, alien, beautiful, untouched by any light, for billions of years. In these caves, if you could visit, you'd find silence, absolute. No wind, no sound, no movement, just crystals growing slowly, molecule by molecule, in the dark, in the cold, forever. The caves waiting in darkness, like the caves of your unconscious mind, deep structures hidden, where dreams form, where memories hide, everything crystalline, everything preserved, everything sleeping, heavier, heavier. Brown dwarfs, those failed stars, sometimes have auroras created by charged particles interacting with their magnetic fields, just like Earth's auroras, but different. The faint blush of aurorae on a brown dwarf, glowing in infrared, in wavelengths invisible to human eyes, creates bands of light around the poles of these dim objects. The blush, barely there, fainter than anything you could imagine, marks the presence of magnetic fields, of charged particles, of processes, continuing even on a star that failed to ignite. The blush, like the flush of blood in your cheeks, fading now as your circulation slows, as your body cools, preparing for sleep. Everything blushing, then fading, then cooling, then still. Thump, thump, heavier. Every star has a lifetime. Stars like the sun, burn for 10 billion years, then begin to die. The long goodbye of a retiring main sequence star takes millions of years. First, the star swells, becoming a red giant, consuming its inner planets. Then it sheds its outer layers, creating a Crossota jellies, deep red medusae, hovering motionless until prey approaches. Their bells are small, but their tentacles are long, lined with stinging cells. They pulse gently, conserving energy, releasing brief flashes of bioluminescence when disturbed. They brood their young, holding developing medusae. Beneath the bell, a quiet nursery in cold mid-water, benthic stenophores, comb jellies that live on the seafloor, unlike their drifting cousins. Their bodies adhere to rocks or anchor into sediment, tentacles spread in sticky fans, catching amphipods and copepods. Their rows of cilia beat in iridescent waves, even in darkness, shimmering with reflected bioluminescence. They creep rather than swim, inching across substrate. Invisible when watching a single moment, becomes clear when simulated. When time is compressed, the galaxies approach, intertwine, separate, return, merge. Their stars rarely collide. Space is too empty, but their shapes deform, stretch, create tidal tails, spiral arms, disrupted structures. The choreography, complex, beautiful, violent and graceful, all at once, takes hundreds of millions of years to complete, like the choreography of your breath, your heartbeat, your brainwaves as you fall asleep. Everything synchronized, everything dancing to rhythms you don't control, don't choose, just follow. Thump, thump, heavier. The dance continues without you as you drift away. Lavaceans, tiny tadpole-like animals, building elaborate mucus houses, delicate spherical filters that can be many times their own size. They beat their tails, drawing water through layers, capturing bacteria and particles. When the house clogs, they abandon it, letting it sink, contributing to marine snow, then build a new one, a life spent constructing and discarding. Miniature mansions, Tomopteris, polychord worms, agile, translucent, their bodies segmented with paddle-like limbs. They swim with surprising speed, their limbs beating like wings. Some species produce golden bioluminescence, flashes that pulse from limb to limb as if fire were running along their bodies. They hunt small crustaceans, striking with sudden, fluid twists. Swimmer bombworms, polychaetes that release glowing spheres, bombs when threatened, gelatinous orbs that drift away, pulsing with green light, distracting predators. Their bodies are long, pale, supported by paddle-like parapodia. They swim with quick bursts, vanishing into darkness, while their decoys continue to glow like drifting ghosts. Chaetonaths, arrowworms, sleek, transparent predators hovering horizontally. Their mouths are ringed with grasping spines, snapping shut on copepods with shocking speed. They are ambush hunters, tracking prey through vibration. Their bodies, nearly invisible, ripple with faint muscle waves as they strike with needle-like precision. Heavy, compressed, until there's no space left between anything, everything, touching, everything else. No boundaries, no separation, just density, just weight, pulling down, down, heavier, heavier, thump, thump. In some planetary nebulae, in the expelled shells of dying stars, there are knots, dense clumps of gas. These knots, shaped by magnetic fields, by stellar wind, by turbulence, create intricate structures, like tangled thread, like rope, coiled and twisted. The knots, moving outward with the expanding nebula, slowly untangle or tighten further over thousands of years, like the knots in your muscles, in your shoulders, in your jaw, slowly untangling now, loosening, releasing as you sink. Amphipod clouds, fast-moving swarms of tiny crustaceans darting in all directions. Their bodies are laterally compressed, allowing tight maneuvers in complex flows. They gather around food falls, covering carcasses in minutes, devouring soft tissues, leaving only bone. Their numbers astonishing, enough to form clouds that look like drifting smoke. Circle, slower now, wider orbits, longer periods, until the orbit is so slow, so wide, that it's almost not moving, almost still, thump, thump, heavier, circle, and still, and sleep. Comets, when they approach the sun, heat up. Gas erupts from their surfaces, jets of vapor, creating the coma, the atmosphere around the nucleus. These jets, triggered by sunlight, by rotation, by the comet's composition, shoot outward, then slow, then drift, like breath, like sighs, like the sigh you take now, releasing, releasing. The comet sighs, vapor into space, and you sigh. Tension into air, everything, releasing, everything, evaporating, lighter, but somehow heavier. The paradox of letting go, feeling. Phronema, predatory amphipods, infamous for hollowing out salt bodies when riding them like transparent barrels. They carve the interior, shaping it into a mobile shelter, their large eyes, adapted to faint light, track prey as they row their barrel through mid-water. They raise their young inside the stolen chamber, a drifting nursery built from another's body. Hyperid amphipods, hitchhikers of the deep, living on jellies, siphonophores, and salps, their large eyes, tuned to detect bioluminescent glows. They cling to gelatinous hosts, feeding on mucus or on the prey the host captures. Some species burrow into bells, living inside like tenants in a soft, drifting home. Deep-sea ostracods, gigantocyprus, giant seed shrimp, orange, spherical, with mirrored eyes that act like telescopes, focusing faint light. Their bodies are encased in smooth shells, within which limbs move, unseen. They hover motionless, scanning for prey or predators, their reflective eyes glinting like metallic moons in black water. Bathypelagic polychaetes, long-bodied worms, drifting or swimming through the water column. Some glow blue, others red, their parapodia fluttering like delicate wings. They feed on detritus or capture small drifting animals, using jaws hidden within soft heads. They are ribbon-like hunters, moving with sinuous calm through still layers, everything becoming simpler, prettier, quieter as you drift, farther away, heavier, heavier. The storms, still raging, but silent now, distant now, beautiful and irrelevant, in nebulae, in the clouds where stars are born. There are Bok globules, small dark clouds, dense, opaque. These globules, blocking the light from stars behind them, appear as dark spots in glowing nebulae. Inside these globules, in the darkness, stars are forming, or will form, eventually. The darkness, pregnant with potential, with future light, is like sleep, dark, but not empty, not nothing. But marine snow, the name itself, poetic, describes the constant shower of organic particles, dead phytoplankton, fecal pellets, pieces of dead animals, molts, mucus, everything that sinks through the water column, taking days, weeks to fall from surface to sea floor, most of it consumed on the way down by filter feeders, by plankton, by fish, by bacteria, breaking down, transforming, so that what reaches the abyssal plain is greatly diminished, a fraction of what started above. But still it comes, this constant gentle rain of nutrients, of energy, connecting the surface to the depths, everything falling like your eyelids, like your attention drifting away from thought toward nothing, toward sleep. In this marine snow, sometimes larger pieces, a shark, a tuna, a squid. These food falls create temporary oases, attracting creatures from far away. How they know remains mysterious. Chemical signals spreading through water like scent on wind. The deep-sea creatures detecting, responding, converging on opportunity. Scientists study this by creating baited cameras, lowering them to the abyssal plain with bait and lights and time-lapse recording. Hours pass in the video, days, nothing. Nothing. Then suddenly, a snailfish appearing, then a sleeper shark, circling, more fish, amphipods. Eventually, the bait consumed. It always does. The cusk eel, Ophidiidae, another abyssal resident, elongated, eel-like though not true eels. They're actually fish with reduced fins, adapted for a life of swimming slowly or resting on bottom. Some species give birth to live young. Unusual for deep-sea fish, most lay eggs, but the cusk eel retains embryos inside, protecting them in the safest place. They know their own body. Like the boundary you're crossing now between states, between waking and sleeping, wavering, shimmering, then settling into one side, the dark side, the sleeping side, heavier, heavier, thump, thump. Some moons in the outer solar system have no atmosphere. Their surfaces exposed directly to space. Occasionally, a micrometeoroid impacts, vaporizing a tiny bit of surface material, creating a momentary puff of gas. On some moons, like Europa or Enceladus, ice sublimates directly into space, creating the faintest hint, the faint scent of ozone, of water vapor, but there's no one there to smell it, no one to notice. Just molecules escaping into vacuum, drifting away, joining the thin exosphere, then escaping entirely into interplanetary space, like thoughts escaping, drifting away, leaving your mind, evaporating into nothing. The moon, Earth's moon, is geologically active, even though it appears dead. Deep beneath the surface, in the regolith, moonquakes occur, caused by tidal stresses from Earth, by thermal expansion and contraction, by the slow cooling of the lunar interior. The tremor of these moonquakes, too subtle to feel on the surface, propagates through the solid moon, ringing it like a bell for hours after each quake. That subtle tremor, that barely there vibration, deep beneath a lifeless surface, is like the processes of your sleeping body, subtle, unconscious, continuing while you're unaware. Everything still moving, still processing, deep beneath awareness. Thump, thump. Comets have tails, 2 of them, a dust tail that curves, following the comet's orbit, and an ion tail made of charged particles that always points directly away from the sun. The silver thread of this ion tail, glowing blue from charged carbon monoxide and water, stretches millions of miles behind the comet, but it's so tenuous, so thin, that you could fly through it and barely notice, like spider silk, visible only when light catches it, otherwise invisible, barely there. The thread stretching, thinning, like, or is it peace, freedom from crowding, from noise, from the bright chaos of the surface world? Down here, space is abundant, pressure is constant, temperature unchanging. Perhaps this is not isolation. Perhaps this is tranquility. Your room, now dark, quiet, could be anywhere, could be nowhere. The darkness, the same, whether eyes open or closed. The weight of blankets, like water, pressing, holding you. Heavy, heavier. This is safety. This is where you belong, in stillness, in quiet, in the soft dark. In the rings of Saturn, some particles are made of water ice, coated in organic molecules. When sunlight hits these particles, some wavelengths are absorbed, others scattered, creating the colors we see. But there's something else. Some ring particles contain tritium, radioactive hydrogen, created by cosmic ray impacts. This tritium, decaying with a half-life of 12 years, glows faintly, imperceptibly, with beta radiation. The glow of tritium in those ring particles, invisible, undetectable except by instrumentation, is like the glow of metabolism in your cells, continuing even as you sleep, energy being released slowly, constantly, invisibly, keeping you alive, keeping you warm while you drift away from knowing. Thump, thump around some massive stars. The intense radiation and stellar wind pushes on the surrounding interstellar medium, creating bubbles hundreds of light years across. Inside these bubbles, the gas is hot, tenuous, almost empty. The slow bloom of these interstellar bubbles, expanding at speeds of tens of kilometers per second, which seems fast, but on these scales is incredibly slow, takes millions of years, like a flower opening in extreme slow motion. The bloom, the expansion, the growth, happening, but imperceptibly, like your awareness, slowly blooming into dreams, expanding, but so slowly you don't notice the transition from waking to sleeping. Heavier, heavier. The phantom jellyfish, Stygia medusa gigantea, grows large, 6 feet across, with 4 arms, thick, ribbon-like. Instead of many thin tentacles, these arms can grow over 30 feet long, trailing like banners. They've rarely been seen. Less than 200 sightings ever recorded, despite existing throughout the world's oceans. In the midnight zone, where seeing anything is rare. When ROVs encounter them, they swim slowly, pulsing their bell, their arms waving, hypnotic, ghostly. The phantom jellyfish likely feeds on plankton or small fish caught in their arms, delivered to mouths along the arm length, eating slowly as they drift, always drifting. Gamma ray bursts, the brightest events in the universe, release more energy in seconds than the sun will release in its entire lifetime. These bursts, caused by collapsing massive stars or colliding neutron stars, send out beams of gamma rays that travel across the universe. The echo of these bursts, arriving at Earth after traveling billions of years, is detectable only by satellite instruments. By the time it reaches us, the fury has faded, become just an echo, a memory of violence, translated by distance into something almost peaceful. The echo fading, like anger fading, like intensity fading, everything fading with distance, with time, into quiet, into calm. Thump, thump. Some asteroids travel in resonant orbits, their orbital period a simple ratio of another object's period. These resonances, like musical intervals, create patterns, the silent shepherding of these resonant orbits. The way Neptune's gravity organizes the Kuiper belt, creating gaps and concentrations, is like an invisible hand, arranging things. The pattern, emerging from chaos, from random gravitational interactions, becomes order, becomes structure, becomes predictable, like you're breathing now, falling into a pattern, a rhythm, without effort, without thought, just resonating with the natural frequency of rest. Heavier, heavier, expand their cells, rupture their proteins, kill them as surely as vacuum. We think of pressure as limiting, but for them, pressure is home, is necessary. Surface pressure, too low. Deep pressure, just right, like you and your bed. The pressure of gravity holding you down, just right, not too much, not too little, perfect for sleep. The six-gill hagfish, primitive, jawless, nearly blind. It ties itself in knots to feed, to escape, to clean slime from its body. A living fossil, unchanged for hundreds of millions of years. Because it works. Because this design, simple, effective, needs no improvement. In the deep, old designs persist. Why change? What functions? Evolution, in the deep, is conservative, slow, cautious, changes, expensive, risky. Better to stay the same. If same means survival, means existence, continuing. On shield volcanoes, on Mars, on Io, on other worlds, micrometeorites rain down constantly. Each impact, tiny, insignificant individually, pits the surface. The soft rain of these micrometeorites, over millions of years, erodes even the hardest rock, creating the weathered, ancient surfaces we see. That soft rain, barely noticeable, but constant, relentless, is like time itself, wearing everything down, smoothing everything. Eventually, even mountains become plains, even sharp memories become smooth, vague, forgotten, everything worn by time, by patience, by the soft, constant rain of moments, heavier. Most human will never see a bristle mouth, never know they exist, yet they might be the most successful fish. Success, not measured in size, in intelligence, in power, but in numbers, in persistence, in existing quietly, endlessly, in the spaces between spaces, doing what they've always done, what they'll always do, until something changes or ends. The bentopelagic sharks living at the boundary between open water and seafloor, neither fully of one nor the other, existing in the liminal space, the transition zone where bottom dwellers swim up and open water creatures swim down, meeting in the middle. Opportunistic, adaptable, flexible, in a rigidus environment, the prickly shark, Echinorinus cookie, covered in thick, thorn-like denticles, making it unpalatable to most predators. Its skin, armor, without weight, without rigidity, just texture, creating defense. It hunts octopuses, other sharks, crabs, whatever it can catch. In the deep, food is food, no preferences, just calories, just survival. The firefly squid, what a senior scintillans, though not the deepest, still remarkable. Its entire body covered in photophores, thousands of them. It can control each individually, creating patterns, light shows, communication, predation. Red giant stars, old stars, swollen and cool, slowly exhale their outer layers, creating planetary nebulae. The slow exhale of these dying stars, releasing material that will seed the next generation, takes thousands of years, like breathing out forever. The material drifts away, glowing, creating those beautiful, symmetrical nebulae, shells of gas, expanding, thinning, eventually, mixing with the interstellar medium, disappearing. That slow exhale, releasing, letting go, is like the exhale you're taking now. Releasing everything, letting go of the day, of tension, of consciousness, just breathing out and not bothering to breathe back in, heavier. Neutron star, with their incredible density, have crusts. The outer layer, just below the surface, is solid, made of atomic nuclei arranged in crystalline lattices. This crystalline song, if you could hear it, would be the vibration of the crust, ringing from starquakes when the crust cracks under intense magnetic stress. The frequencies too high for human hearing, but they're nonetheless mathematical, perfect. The crystal singing as it breaks, as it reforms, as stress releases, like your own body releasing stress, muscles, finally letting go, everything, crystalline, everything, structured, dissolving into chaos, into randomness, into sleep. Thump, thump. At the center of globular clusters, ancient spherical collections of stars orbiting galaxies. The stars are packed densely, separated by light weeks instead of light years. The velvet darkness inside these cores, between the stars, is not truly dark. illuminated by the combined light of 1,000,000 suns. But to our eyes, from Earth, looking at these clusters, we see only a bright, fuzzy ball. The darkness inside, the space between, hidden by glare, is like the space between thoughts, between moments, hidden by the brightness of awareness, but becoming visible now as awareness dims, as the brightness fades, revealing the velvet darkness beneath, heavier. At certain points in space, Lagrange points, gravitational forces balance perfectly. An object placed at a Lagrange point will stay there, requiring no fuel, no energy, just staying. The gentle tug holding it is the equilibrium of forces, sun and earth pulling equally, creating a point of stillness in the motion of the solar system. That gentle tug, that balance, that perfect point of rest is where you are now, balanced between waking and sleeping, between thought and no thought, between being and not being, just balanced, still at rest. Heavier, heavier, thump, thump, inside some stars, in a moment of crisis, when the core contracts suddenly, helium fusion ignites explosively. This helium flash, releasing enormous energy in seconds, happens deep inside the star, invisible from outside. The pale fire of this event, seen only in computer models, in calculations, affects the star's evolution, but invisibly. Without the flash, the star would die differently, but no one watching would know. The flash happens in darkness, in the deep, in the hidden places where fusion occurs, like insights, occurring in sleep, in dreams, processing, happening, in darkness, in depths you'll never see, never remember, but that change you nonetheless. Heavier, the bent-toothed bristlefish, another strange design, teeth projecting forward outside the mouth, because in the deep, mouths don't need to close, don't need to fit together neatly, just need to hold prey. Once caught, the eating can be slow, no rush, never a rush. The sea pig we mentioned, but there are so many species, scotoplanes, peniagone, cycropotes, all variations, all walking cucumbers, grazing the abyssal mud, finding nutrition in almost nothing, processing the unprocessable, surviving where survival seems unlikely. The scaly-foot snail, at hydrothermal vents, armor-plated with iron sulfide, metal scales, growing naturally. On living tissue, the only animal to use metal in this way, its shell, black, iron-rich, protecting it from toxic vent water, from predators. A medieval knight, born of chemistry and evolution, the Pompeii worm, already described, but worth remembering. The heat it endures would kill almost anything, yet it thrives, finding that perfect spot between two hot and too cold, between death and death, living in the narrowest margin. Near black holes, near neutron stars, space-time curves so severely that light bends, creating optical distortions. The shimmer of birefringence in this warped space-time creates multiple images, gravitational lensing, light following curved paths. What should be straight becomes curved. What should be single becomes multiple. Reality itself distorted by gravity, by mass, by the curvature of everything, like perception, distorted as you fall asleep. Things seeming multiple when they're single, or single when they're multiple. Time stretching, contracting, space bending, nothing quite real anymore. Heavier, the Dumbo grubs, Siconassa larvae drifting in plankton before settling to bottom to metamorphose into different forms. Everyone in the deep changes. Nothing stays the same. Development, transformation, different stages, different needs, different forms, but same creature underneath. All these creatures, all these adaptations, all this diversity in darkness, in cold, in pressure, in isolation, life persisting, thriving, even succeeding by metrics we barely understand. What drives them? No consciousness, no ambition, just DNA, replicating, just chemistry, responding to environment, to pressure, to opportunity, the drive to exist, built into every cell, every molecule. Keep going, keep trying, keep being until you can't. But for now, they continue, swimming, drifting, feeding, reproducing, in the dark, in silence, in the deep. They continue, as they have, for millions of years, as they will, for millions, more and less. Something changes. The ocean, breathing, above them, currents, flowing, around them, the planet, turning, beneath them. But in the deep, none of that matters, only of existence, your breath, now slowing, each one deeper than the last, your body heavy, so heavy, sinking into mattress, into pillow, into darkness, your own personal midnight zone, the sounds around you fading like marine snow, settling softly on sea floor, thoughts dissolving like bioluminescence, dimming after the flash, consciousness drifting away, deeper, deeper, you're sinking through layers, past surface, past twilight, past midnight, into the abyssal, into the hadal, into depths where thought cannot follow, where worry cannot reach, where only stillness exists. Some binary stars orbit so close, their surfaces touch, contact binaries, where two stars share an atmosphere, orbit each other in hours. The slow pirouette, slow only compared to thought, not to other stellar processes, creates a peanut-shaped system, neither star-independent, but merged, combined into one system. The dance so close, so intimate, that separation is impossible. They'll either merge completely, eventually, or continue in this contact forever, like body and mind, separate, but not touching, inseparable, in sleep, everything merging, boundaries dissolving, until you can't tell what's you and what's dream. Thump, thump, on super Earths, planets larger than Earth but smaller than Neptune, with deep oceans. The sky reflects in the water, creating a mirrored sky. On a calm day, on such a world, if there were days, the ocean would reflect clouds, stars, moons, perfectly, creating a sense of floating and between two skies, between earth and heaven, between the mirror, perfect, seamless, above and below, the same, like the state you're in now, between waking and sleeping, where both are the same, where neither exists, just floating between mirrors, heavier, heavier, everything reflected, everything doubled, then fading, some stars ejected from their galaxies by gravitational interactions, by supernova explosions, by encounters with black holes, travel through intergalactic space, alone, the lonely vigil of these hypervelocity stars, moving faster than escape velocity, taking them out of the galaxy into the void between galaxies, is a journey with no return. They'll travel for billions of years through nearly empty space, growing more and more isolated. Eventually, their galaxy of origin will be too far away to see, and they'll be truly alone in the dark between everything, like a thought escaping from your mind, drifting into nothing, never to return, heavier, heavier, gone. Let the deep sea hold you in its cold embrace. Let the pressure support you. Let the darkness comfort you. You're safe here, in the deep, in the dark, in sleep. The ocean keeps turning, the tides keep flowing, the creatures keep drifting, and you keep breathing slower, slower, each breath taking you deeper into rest, into sleep, into dreams of dark water and bioluminescent stars and creatures that fly through liquid space. The universe keeps turning, and the silent depths of deep-sea creatures keep dreaming and will keep drifting, floating together through the mysteries. 100 deep-sea creature mysteries, looping softly, endlessly, through the night. There's nothing you need to do now. Just let your body sink, heavier, heavier. Feel the mattress holding you, every muscle softening, your heartbeat slowing, thump, thump, matching the rhythm of space itself. And we'll keep drifting, floating together through the mysteries. In the Kuiper belt, some objects are shaped oddly, tilted strangely. Their surfaces, cliffs of water ice, methane ice, towering thousands of feet high. The frostbitten cliffs of these distant worlds, never seeing sunlight, not real sunlight, only starlight, stand eternal, unchanging, sublime in their isolation. The cliffs, carved perhaps by ancient impacts, or by outgassing, or by tidal forces, remain frozen, no erosion, no weather to speak of, just standing forever, like monuments to nothing, like thoughts frozen at the edge of sleep, standing, meaningless, but somehow important, heavier. When a supernova explodes, the shockwave travels outward, compressing the interstellar medium, triggering new star formation. The soft bruise of this shockwave, marked by glowing gas, by regions of compression, spreads across light years. Like dropping a stone in water, the ripple spreads forever, growing fainter, but never quite stopping. That soft bruise, that mark left behind by violence, becomes, over time, beautiful. A ring, a shell of glowing gas, the mark of ending, becoming, the cause of beginning. Everything cycling, everything the returning, like consciousness, ending. Each night to begin again, each morning, but for now, ending, heavier, thump, thump. Some quasars, quiet now, dormant, will wake again when new material falls into their central black holes. The slow awakening of these dormant quasars over millions of years as gas slowly accumulates and finally begins falling inward, reignites the engine of radiation, of jets, of brightness. But for now, dormant, sleeping, quiet, like you, will wake eventually. But for now, sleeping, quiet, the quasar dreams, perhaps, of the matter it will consume, of the light it will emit. But for now, nothing, just darkness, just waiting, heavier, heavier, thump, thump. In the Kuiper belt, some objects are shaped oddly, tilted strangely. Their surfaces, cliffs of water ice, methane ice, towering thousands of feet high. The frostbitten cliffs of these distant worlds, never seeing sunlight, not real sunlight, only starlight, stand eternal, unchanging, sublime in their isolation. The cliffs, carved perhaps by ancient impacts, or by outgassing, or by tidal forces, remain frozen. No erosion, no weather to speak of, just standing forever, like monuments to nothing, like thoughts frozen at the edge of sleep, standing, meaningless, but somehow important, heavier. Some quasars, quiet now, dormant, will wake again when new material falls into their central black holes. The slow awakening of these dormant quasars over millions of years as gas slowly accumulates and finally begins falling inward, reignites the engine of radiation, of jets, of brightness. but for now, dormant, sleeping, quiet, like you, will wake eventually, but for now, sleeping, quiet. The quasar dreams, perhaps, of the matter it will consume, of the light it will emit, but for now, nothing, just darkness, just waiting, heavier, heavier, thump, thump. When a galaxy passes too close to another, a larger one, tidal forces can strip away its outer stars, its gas, leaving behind only the core. The quiet morning of this stripped galactic core, a galaxy reduced, diminished, stripped of its ability to form new stars, continues to orbit, a ghost of what it was. Everything taken by tidal forces, by gravity, by violence made slow. The core, all that remains, orbiting in silence, mourning, perhaps, or simply being, without memory, without longing, just existing, diminished, quiet, like consciousness, diminished, stripped, reduced to its core, which is nothing, or everything, or sleep, heavier. Some exoplanets, planets orbiting other stars, and are rich in iron, their cores enormous, their crust metallic. The trembling crust of these iron-rich worlds, responding to their star's magnetic field, to tidal forces from other planets, creates, if there were anyone to hear it, a low hum, a vibration, felt more than heard. The planet trembling, constantly, like a bell, continuously struck, but so gently, so subtly, that the vibration is almost nothing, almost stillness, almost silence, like your body trembling at the edge of sleep, muscles releasing, relaxing, trembling with the effort of letting go, until finally, they stop, and there's only such stillness, only silence, only sleep. Thump, thump, thump. The universe keeps turning, and the silent vastness of space will hold us, and we'll keep drifting, floating together through the mysteries. 100 space mysteries, looping softly, endlessly, through the night. Tonight we'll drift through the hidden world, drifting in the void that astronomers swear should exist, but can't quite prove. The faint cosmic murmur that behaves like a star but refuses to shine like one. The invisible tension stretching space so fiercely that it's quietly reshaping the universe itself, and we'll keep drifting, floating together through the mysteries, heavier, heavier, thump, thump, into the calm, the quiet, the dark, drifting, always drifting through space, through sleep, through the endless night.